the truth, you forget the rest. You were proposed the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steampunk Kelly with the set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello, and happy hump day. The camel walking into the office. Hang on, I think I need to wipe my camera a little bit here. There we go. Got the little blurries solved there. So, how's everybody doing? We got some polling out today that I think is really interesting. On the Iran war, believe it or not, it's not popular. It never was popular, but now it's even less popular. Let me pull this up. It's dropped 13 points in 2 months, according to a new Politico poll. About 37% of self-identified MAGA voters say the U.S. should continue its involvement, only if it doesn't increase costs. All right, that's not 37% of the country. That's 37% of MAGA. So even MAGA is souring on the war. And I think we can't just gloss over that. I think that there are a number of things where people who voted for Trump are starting to add up. And it's going to, I think that all of this is going to have major dividends in the 2026 elections. I think that the Senate, thought impossible in 2024, is becoming not only obtainable but realistic possibility. I'm seeing a lot of polling in places where typically you would expect right now the Republicans to have a big advantage. For instance, Maine, right, where you had the whole Plantner thing, and usually having somebody like basically kicked off the ticket for raping somebody, might have a negative impact on the race. But they've managed to their credit, they managed to replace Plattner without a lot of controversy or scandal, and all the sorry, I'm just gonna get my coffee cup here. Sorry, you had to look up my nose there for a second. So you've got Plattner, who got removed and replaced, and the new opponent, whose name I can't think of at the moment, the new opponent is actually up 3 points on her now. You've got Tallarico running even in Texas, in spite of just an incredible litany of lies and nonsense that have been spouted about him. Apparently, he doesn't think God has a penis. And, God doesn't have a penis. God doesn't have a vagina. God is a metaphysical being without corporeality. He has no genitals. So Tallarico is talking about, in Christianity, there's the triune God, right? There's the Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then there's Jesus, who is the Son incarnate. Now, Jesus had a penis. And there's no confusion over that. That's not what Tallarico was talking about. What Tallarico was talking about is God the Father, who has no corporeality, who is the creator, and who, made matter in his creation. So it would be like actually apostasy to call him, to say he has corporeality, corporeality. Is that physicality? Let's just say that instead of stumbling over a word that I suddenly cannot pronounce. But yeah, God doesn't have a penis. God the Father doesn't have a penis. It's heretical to say he does, because to say he has a penis biblically would be to deny he created the universe. So, because he can't have matter if he created matter. He's a metaphysical being. So anyway, that's like not just Tallarico saying that. This has been conventional Christian theology for 2,000 years. So, but Tallarico says, and all of a sudden, it's controversial. So anyway, there was this speech, he was doing a town hall, and somebody asked him about that. And he kind of, he explained it a little bit. And then what he said afterwards, I think, is what is capturing a lot of Texans that are, like Christians, and have been taught that to be Christian means to vote for Republicans. And he talked about he said his grandfather was a Baptist minister, and had taught him that the most important thing is the two rules, right? Love God and love your neighbor. And so he tries to practice those two rules above everything else. And the problem with the Republican Party and Republican politics is the Republican politics doesn't love your neighbor. And I think it's striking a chord. I don't think that we should be basing our laws on our Christian faith, if you have a Christian faith, because not everybody does have a Christian faith. And Tallarico feels the same way. But I think he is doing a good job of convincing people that being Christian and being a Democrat are not mutually exclusive. They're actually more in line with one another than being a Christian and being a Republican. But then there's also all this insanity that's going on with Trump. And there are several different groups of subsets of Trump supporters. They're starting to get peeled off a little bit at a time. Not by a lot, but a little bit at a time. Oh, hey, we got some comments. Captain Homer, all gods are illiterate. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's an opinion that you're entitled to. It's one I don't think we can prove one way or the other. Texas was not Republican until mid-90s. The last Republican, or the last Democratic senator or a statewide office that I think, actually there might have been like a governor, I think in 94 or something. But yeah, it's been about 30 years. The last Republican, or the last Democratic senator from Texas was in 1988, Lloyd Benson. So it's been a while. It's been a couple of minutes. But I think there is a real chance that Tallarico is more unifying, and all of a sudden I can't think of his name. Where did my brain go? Kenneth Paxton, who is just like a criminal and a nasty person. He's probably the most corrupt politician in Texas, which is like saying, you're the fattest person at the fat camp. I mean, he is a really despicable person. And even his own party tried to impeach him. So that gives you an idea. But anyway, I think there's one, Tallarico is a more unifying candidate. I think that Paxton is is a piece of crap, and a lot of Republicans acknowledge that and don't like him. I think there's the fact that the when you start looking at all these subsets of groups, like the Latino voters and the Hispanic voters that had swung for Trump in 2024 for whatever reason, are now like, they were saying, oh, you know, if you're here legally, you don't have anything to worry about and all that stuff. And now they're finding out, yeah, if you're brown, you have something to worry about. And you have brown people being detained that are citizens, that are here legally, that have not broken any laws. And they're being told they have to carry their papers. And even if they do carry their papers, ICE is telling them they don't believe their papers. And so now they're not so enthusiastic about Trump. So that's one group, the Latino voters. I think that, you know, the beef farm, Texas has a big beef farm industry. I think we have more beef than any state in the country. And it was just horribly hit by the tariffs on both ends. First, on the front end, where the cost of raising the beef went up. And then when lowering the beef prices, he reduced the tariffs on the beef coming in. So then they got, you know, their beef was more expensive to sell. And then it was undercut by reducing the tariffs. So the beef farmers, there's some beef farmers pissed off. Not all of them, but you're talking about a group that largely voted for Trump. So even just a few percent of them, and you start cutting off some of these, you know, you start reducing a percentage of the Latino vote, and you start taking a percentage of the Christian vote, and you start taking a percentage of the farm vote, and you take a percentage of just the people that voted for him because of they thought he would do better on the economy, and he's so unpopular on the economy. And so you take away all these little percentages and they start adding up. And so I think Tallarico has a very honest chance at beating Paxton. And if that happens, mark my words, I'm saying it right here, right now. You can come back and laugh at me if I'm wrong. But if Texas goes to the Democrats, the Democratic Party will win the Senate. Why Democrats allow anything and everything to go on out of compassion. I don't know what that means, Randall. What do they allow to go on out of compassion? I don't understand. Brett doesn't understand it either. Hi, Brett. I've made a video for you, Brett. I looked into the crack spread thing, and I thought it was really interesting. I made a video that I'm going to play later. I don't understand your point. That's like saying Republicans allow anything and everything to go on because they are so rousted below the belt. Epstein. I believe there's more to both parties than just the basics. When I see a problem, be it homelessness, etc., and point out a Democrat says it exists out of compassion, I don't even know what you're trying to say there. Let me see if I can decipher it. Democrats don't say that homelessness exists out of compassion. I don't think homelessness is a crime. I don't think we should criminalize being poor. I don't know if that's what you're getting at. Like, if somebody's homeless, then they're a bad person. Is that what you're saying? And you shouldn't have compassion for them? Because I'm pretty sure Jesus said the opposite. So if we're talking about this, you know, like based on Christianity and the Bible and stuff, I'd say you're kind of opposite end of Jesus here. Brett says, Brett doesn't understand that either. He says, I reread that 3 times and it still doesn't make sense. And you're not alone, Brett. I have no idea what he's talking about. I don't know if Randall knows what he's talking about. So, and now you've got the to get back to the elections. Now you've got even only 1/3. I mean, think about this. Only 1/3 of MAGAs are supporting the war at this point. Only 1/3 of MAGAs. And there's I just keep thinking about it. And this is the problem when you start a war based on a lie. The lie being that, Iran was going to get nuclear weapons. The only way that you can win the war is to end a thing that never existed. And so how do you prove that you ended this thing that never existed? Now the best we can hope for is regaining some semblance of control over the Straits of Hormuz. No matter what, like at this point, I do not see where we get out of this war without Iran being better off than before we started it. I don't see a way. I don't see a way. And now the oil prices are going back up, and I think they're going back up in a different way than they did the first time. When the war started, they just jumped through the roof, right? And they went over $100 like almost overnight. Now they're going up like $2-3 a day. They're just going up steadily. Every day we're bombing Iran, they go up more. What are they up today? I bet they're, let me check, oil price. They are up 241 so far. They're back up to, for crude, WTI crude, it's 86.75. For Brent crude, it's 408. And now time to talk about something that, and it's not something that I had ever, heard of. And it's something you might start hearing about. It's like nobody knew the Straits of Hormuz or what that was. And I made a video on it. I'll play later. But there's actually two aspects to the oil prices, or to gasoline, right? There's the price of oil, and then there's the price of turning that oil into gasoline. And I think a lot of us, including me, was under the impression that Iran and the Middle East, they just exported the oil. And then we refined it. We turned it into gasoline, or other places did. And all the gasoline that was made was all they did was export the oil, not the refined gasoline. But apparently like 10% of the gasoline in the world is also refined in the Middle East. So we're losing the refining capability, 10% of it. So it's the cost as we lose that refining capacity, then the refining becomes the bottleneck. All right, and it's not just the oil. So we're short on oil, but we're also short on refining. And they take and they look at the barrel of oil, and it's like you get 2 barrels of gas and 1 barrel of diesel out of it. And then they take the cost of that, those 3 things, and they compare that to the price of the oil, like the 2 prices of gasoline and the price of the oil, or of diesel, compared to a price of oil. And that's called the crack spread, the difference in price between those things. And as you lose the refining capacity, the greater that spread is. And that has been like getting close to record highs now. And that is what Brett was bringing up yesterday. And it means that it's not just about the oil anymore. It's about the actual refining capacity that we have worldwide. And it's making gas prices more expensive. And this is not something that was initially part of the problem. This is a growing problem. It's escalating. So even though the price of oil is going up, there's still an oil shortage. There's also a refining shortage. And when you add those 2 things together, then you have a real price problem. And now you've got in Lebanon, there's another strait that's called the Straits of Alibaba or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. Uh, Probably we'll all know what it is by the end of the week. But they're starting to say, we're going to cut that off. And then the shipping companies are saying, we're not going to insure you. So that's going to be another restriction on both oil and gasoline coming out of the Middle East, which is going to cause gas prices to go up even more. And then you also look at, we've been using our dipping into the oil reserves. And the oil reserves were set up for this kind of situation, to where there's a reduction in the world's oil supplies. And so then we use the oil reserves, and Biden used it according to what it was supposed to be used for. Of course, Republicans complained that he was using it, but that's because it started bringing the price of gas down, and they didn't like that. Now Trump's been using it because of the war he started. Biden didn't start the war in Ukraine. Putin did, Donald Trump's other best friend. And so now you've got that we've almost emptied out the oil reserves. We're going to lose even more oil and even more gas coming out. So we're really at a crisis point. And then once that all starts to happen, the price of gas is going to go up even more, like a lot more. And then that's going to cause the price of food and everything to go up even more. And that seems to be the one thing. He can shoot a guy on Fifth Avenue, but even Donald Trump is not immune to $5-6 a gallon for gas. And I think that's where we're headed. And I think if that happens, it won't matter how gerrymandered they did things. The Democrats are going to, or the Republicans are just going to get crushed in this next election. Okay. All right. So let's go back to some comments here. I think part of what he's saying is in his inside voice. I can't make sense of it. Maybe he's going along with the Fox News thing of euthanasia. I think I like kids in Asia. I like Asian kids. All right. Old Donald Hawk. Did Donald hawk any merchandise this time at the Dignified transfer? Oh my goodness. I hope not. I wouldn't. He did that before. He's like sitting there putting up these, things about, only 18 people have died. Only 18 soldiers have died. And, in these other wars, this is how many people died. And he doesn't even understand why that's a disgusting thing to do. Only 13 service members died while Joe Biden was president, by the way. And that wasn't a war he started. Hopefully his human printer yanked the hat merch out of his hand. Hopefully. Made in China hat merch, by the way. Nobody is going building new refineries. We just closed a major one out here in Philadelphia. That was one of the largest on the East Coast. It's now turning into an industrial park. And it's like, even if you were going to build a new refinery, you can't build those things overnight. They don't have like prefab oil refineries. Also, this administration is hiding the spread with E15. Right. The extra ethanol gasoline that ruins your car. Again, if you're looking for a new career, now's a good time to look into being a mechanic, because Donald Trump's going to be great for business with this E15 gasoline. A lot of engines are going to be getting destroyed because of him. And cutting social programs, convincing people it's bad to help fellow Americans that are hungry, homeless, and needs meds. And they're sitting there and they're shameless in how much money they're willing to ask for. We have $1 trillion defense budget, and they're asking for more money while they slash funds for people for kids to have food. Like I like, we talk about moderates and extremists. All right, here's a wild take. Maybe the people that are against murdering children in other countries and for feeding children in their own country are the ones who are more, moderate. And the ones who are for killing children in other countries and starving children in our own country, because we can't afford to do both. We can't afford to feed our own children and murder children in other countries. Therefore, we have to prioritize murdering children in other countries over feeding our own children. Maybe that's the extreme position. Maybe. Just a thought. Just a thought. And I think when people start feeling the pinch, not just at the pump, we talk about feeling the pinch at the pump. It's going to be beyond the pinch at the pump. The price of food is going to go up even more. And that's where you get the other aspect of things where we're starting to feel it. The mass deportations is we're deporting people who did work. And whether you are for illegal immigration or, like I wouldn't say for illegal immigration, whatever your thoughts on illegal immigration are, undocumented workers did work. Like that's just a fact. And that work benefited employers. That's why they paid them to do the work. And when you deport those workers, you lose that work. You don't have people that are just going to go and replace them. The reason, this is like, I struggle so much to figure out how to explain things to MAGAs so that the MAGA brain can absorb basic logic. But hear me out. The reason that undocumented workers work in certain jobs is because those are the jobs that people don't want. It's not any other reason. Those jobs aren't getting filled, and that's why undocumented workers migrate to those jobs. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because it should. And I'm supposed to not leave the comments on. So that's significant, because that means that those employers, those business owners, are going to lose their businesses. If they don't have the employees to maintain their business, forget about whether they're documented or not. Undocumented workers, by definition, are working. They do work, and that work has productivity, which helps businesses, which helps our economy. So when you take that work out, you hurt the economy. The economy doesn't care if they're documented or undocumented. You might, but I mean, the economy doesn't. The economy doesn't care whether the person doing the work has a visa. The work itself, the law of supply and demand and whatnot, doesn't care about these arbitrary administrative rules. Do you have any of those Freedom gas stations? I don't. I have an electric car. I just love that I have an electric car. You know how much money I've spent on gas since the war started? Not a dime. Not a dime. Ha ha. All the MAGAs laughing at me for my electric car. Yeah, well, who's laughing now, MAGA? Who's laughing now? Speaking of Fox News, I hear there's a possibility of former Congressman Trey Gowdy entering the Senate primary in South Carolina. Apparently, the party is not settled on Lindsey's sister. Trey Gowdy. Should rename him Trey Gaudy. Why did 47 leave victims' names info unredacted for your fellow MAGA to harass and threaten them? Is it 47 names? That's almost on purpose, right? They love the number 47. Yeah, it sounds like it's on purpose at that point. Nothing is getting slashed except fraud and waste. That's not true, Brian. Yeah, I know that that's what you've been told, but that is not true. And just declaring things unceremoniously does not have the magical power to make them true. It is not just fraud and waste that is being cut. It's not. And like just with the Medicaid, for instance. All right. People don't sit around the house, play video games, and collect Medicaid. It's not like a monetary amount of, it's not like you get a check, a Medicaid check sent to your house. You only get that if you actually get medical care. And so it's not the people that are getting that, it is the hospitals that are getting that. And it's not just fraud and abuse. It's not. The dollar amount of proven, even, anyway. It's dumb. You're just being done. Military funding is not connected to social spending. No, but everything is fungible, right? We're making a choice between whether we spend money here or there. So, like you're sitting there making it sound like there's no, well, okay, we can just allocate the money differently. It's not like tax dollars are earmarked for defense spending. You need some education in the workings of our government. No, Dunn, I don't. I probably do. I can always learn more. But you are not the one to teach me. Not when you're saying stupid, uneducated, illiterate, incompetent, MAGA spewing talking points like that nonsense. Read a book, Brian. I wonder how much of a check Trump has ever written to those wounded warrior guys. He keeps talking how much he cares, yet I see these commercials every day. And he takes credit for veterans benefits when he had nothing to do with. He's kind of like, as a veteran, I do not understand how any veteran could support Donald Trump. He calls them suckers and losers while he's walking amidst their gravestones, the gravestones of those who died in combat. When most of the country needs social programs after this upcoming gas prices, they're going to be forced to create social programs to feed people houses and hospitalize. Every time one of these tankers tries to sneak through in the dark and gets hit, the loss is passed on to the consumer as well. It certainly isn't getting eaten. And that's why the insurance companies don't want to pay for that. That's expensive. Number two, on the social programs, this is what is called an automatic stabilizer. And automatic stabilizers are there so that when we have a recession, when we hit a hard spot, there are things that are there that automatically stabilize the economy and keep the recession from getting worse. And the inception of these was after the Great Depression. And it was to prevent another economic disaster like this. So like, unemployment insurance. So that if you lose your job, you can still get a paycheck. It's not what you were making, but at least it's something. It's something that keeps you from losing your house, because if you lose your house and everybody's losing their house, then the banks start losing money, and then the banks start going under, and then everybody starts losing money, and things snowball. So a stabilizer prevents all of that from happening. And automatic stabilizers include things like SNAP benefits and unemployment and Medicaid and things like that. And so when you gut those things and you force higher prices, lower employment, lower employment. Unemployment's also going up. The labor problem is another reason why food prices are rising. Somebody's got to work in a meatpacking plant. Right. I think it's 40% of meatpacking industry is undocumented immigrants. Like, and the reason for that is it's horrible work. I mean, you're just like sitting there killing animals and carving them up and like risking like injury and stuff like that. It's really, really crappy job. And they got like children, immigrant children doing it. But when you start deporting everybody, even the, it's like you lose the people that are getting deported. You also lose people that don't want to go to work because they're afraid of getting caught. And so they're just staying at home and not going to work. So then that meat packing industry doesn't have people to do the job. And so then the beef that's already been slaughtered starts spoiling. Or it's, there's like before and after the cattle is slaughtered. And after it's slaughtered, the problem becomes that the meat spoils. If the way that they the beef prices, or the way that they raise the beef, is they wait for the cattle to get like a perfect age and perfect weight, and then they slaughter it for like all the marbling and whatnot for the best prime ribs or whatever. And if you wait too long, then it starts to lose that, like prime effect, and it basically all becomes hamburger meat. So then the higher price cuts, the farmers lose out on that. And so it has a devastating impact on the cattle farmers. And yeah, I mean, it's like just ground beef right now is insanely expensive, and it's going to go up. It's going to go up. And we're not talking about that enough. And we're not talking about what Walter just mentioned. The mass deportations are affecting the cattle, the beef prices. Mass deportations are also affecting the produce prices. And that's not something you can just bounce back from overnight. Oh, have they got a handle on that screwworm sitting down in Texas yet? I don't know. That's a good question. Let me look it up. It's funny because like when I think of the word screwworm, it makes me think of Donald Trump, because he's kind of a worm that screws us. Just asking chat real quick. No, it has been contained to a degree, but it has not been resolved. In fact, the U.S. is still treating it as an active animal health emergency. The parasite is established in parts of Texas, with dozens of confirmed cases in livestock, wildlife, and at least one dog. Each new case triggers quarantine, treatment, and surveillance. The overall risk to the general public remains very low. Human cases are rare, and there have been no logically acquired human infestations reported during this outbreak. The biggest concern is economic, particularly for cattle ranchers. Left unchecked, New World screwworm can spread through livestock and wildlife, causing major losses. And that is a very, very legitimate and valid concern. And when you've already got all of these other things that are affecting beef prices, we don't need another disaster. Is this another stream with Kelly 10 minutes behind the chat? Let me see. Okay, so this was 6. Okay, I'm not actually that far behind. Only a couple of minutes. It depends on how many people try to derail the conversation. He literally addresses everybody. He doesn't ignore anybody. And that's for better or for worse, I try to address every comment because I want to engage every voice. But so right now, we're not getting spammed with comments. So it seems like MAGA's losing their enthusiasm. Either that or Brett's just got them all on timeout or whatever. But they're not as excited as they usually are. I think I think MAGA is really starting to feel it. I think that the hardcore support is getting less and less hardcore. And the hardcore support that's there, they're just getting more and more irrational. I've been working on something. So we can't eat beef and we can't eat salad now. I guess I'm sticking with the ramen. There you go. Eat healthy. I want to, you know how I told you before, I mill my own flour, make my own pasta. On my very near to-do list, I want to make my own ramen noodles and see how that comes out. I bet it would taste good. So I've been looking at I don't know if you've ever taken a propositional logic course or anything, or Bayesian logic. But I've been thinking of trying to, like take some MAGA arguments and break them down into propositional and Bayesian logic, because I think the strength of that is it reduces arguments to kind of like a mathematical formula, and it takes the emotion out of it, because you're not arguing for a particular thing. You're not arguing about the conclusion. You're arguing about how you reach the conclusion, or you're actually just breaking down through a kind of formula how you reach a conclusion and whether or not that conclusion is justified. So I've been looking at like mapping out some arguments for the January 6th insurrection, and whether or not that was actually Antifa and FBI were the ones that instigated it. So I'm still midstream on that. I hope to talk about that tomorrow, but I think it'll be it's interesting, because you end up basically with a formula where the protest, you have one of two conclusions, right? One, either the if you just assume that all the people in the crowd were Antifa or FBI agents, then you're looking at a formula where it ends up being that they both are and aren't Trump supporters at the same time, genuine Trump supporters at the same time. And so then you say, okay, maybe just some of them were, but that's where the Bayesian logic comes in. And you start having to make the way Bayesian logic is you assign a probability to each argument, and then you factor those all together to figure out the probability of whether or not a thing could actually happen. And that, when you start doing that, you end up with like a 99.99% chance that that they were not Trump supporters that instigated it. And it's like, it's not established through anything but purely mathematical type formulas, where you're just taking the logic, not the emotions behind the logic. And I'm wondering if that might be more effective way of reaching MAGAs, because they seem to just be so caught up in their emotions. The facts don't care about your feelings crowd are so caught up in their emotions about everything that they react from their emotional core on everything. They don't have like an actual logical conversation. So I'm trying to break it down to its basic logical components. MAGA can't afford gas to get the troll farms and clan meetings. To get to the troll farms. MAGA's so broke they can't even troll. Fresh egg noodles are amazing. Oh, have you ever tried them from actually milling I mill my own flour. So I for my egg noodles, I have some Durham wheat, and I use that for my egg noodles and for my pasta. And they really are. It's like everything with fresh milled flour is like a whole different world than what is store bought. It tastes more. It doesn't just taste better, it tastes more. Like you have so much more flavor and everything. I went to Dunkin' today, first time in 2 months. Dunkin' is a city. When they start with tipping wheel on the GPay screen, I gave 0. Oh, you went to Dunkin' Donuts. When they start with tipping wheel on the GPay screen, I give 0% tip for the counter server with 0% guilt. You know, to be fair, I thought about this. I used to be like, why are you asking me for a tip? And like, to be fair to the guy that's doing the serving, they didn't write the software. um, so I was like, you know, they probably aren't actually asking for a tip. They probably just use the same software for everybody. Do you bake your own bread too? I do bake my own bread. I make different kinds of bread. I make I don't even have all-purpose flour in my house. Everything I do, I have like 12 different kinds of grain. I make different kinds of bread. I make, you know, potato bread and regular sandwich bread and sourdough bread, and I just I experiment. Like this weekend, I wanted to make some fruit cobbler, so I made peach with kamut flour, which has got this like buttery kind of nutty flavor, and it smacked with the peach flavor. And I used brown sugar instead of white sugar because it's got a better flavor that blends with the peaches. And so it's like the nice thing about when you start milling your own flour, like if you're using all-purpose flour, you don't really think of the flour as a flavor. But when you start milling your own flour, like hard white and hard red have different flavors and have different gluten components. And then you've got kamut, you've got rye, you've got other ancient grains, you got spelt. You've got each kind of grain has its own particular kind of gluten structure. Like soft white is great for muffins and pancakes, and it all has like much more flavor because you're getting the bran and the germ and the whole aspect of the wheat. But it's not like when you buy whole wheat flour where they separate it all and then recombine it, and then the oils in the flour like turn rancid over time. And so that's why nobody ever likes the flavor of whole wheat flour, because the oils kind of turned. You don't have that issue with fresh milled flour. It tastes like just a zillion times better. I haven't tried milling my own. I typically use wheat flour though. Yeah, if you want to try it, there's you can, like Azure has fresh milled flour that they ship, where like they mill it right before they ship it, and the flour there, it's not quite as good as when you mill it yourself, but it's still a lot better than any store-bought stuff. And so you can try it and you can see the difference, and then you can decide whether or not you want to start doing your own. The nice thing, like for me, with my fresh milled flour, I have fresh milled flour. I figured out the cost of it. I use a 50-50 split of hard red and hard white for my sandwich bread. And when I I buy $25 or 25-pound bags of grain, and I figured out the price of a loaf of bread that I make that's 100% organic bread from fresh milled flour. And so you think, like it's like Super Dave's bread or something, but better. It's higher quality than that. And that's like $7-8 a loaf at the grocery store. I pay $1.25 for a loaf of my bread that I bake myself. And it's like just legendary better. And I had stomach problems for 25 years. You've got the because you're getting the bran and everything and all the nutrients that are in the bread and like butyrate and stuff like that. I actually I've lost 80 pounds now. I'm down to 145. I was at 225. I've lost 80 pounds. I had diarrhea for, like, sorry to be crude, but like for 25 years. I just had these chronic digestion problems, and the prebiotics in the bread actually help heal my stomach, and I don't have any more stomach problems. It's even my reflux is getting better now. So anyway, it's like a ton healthier, it's a ton cheaper, and it tastes a ton better. So if you've never tried cooking with fresh milled flour, it's a bit of a skill that takes some time, but even your worst loaves are better than the best loaves you're going to buy at the store. The sad part is about the tips is the workers actually don't get the majority of it. It's a sliding scale and manage. Yeah, and at Dunkin' Donuts, if I were at Dunkin' Donuts and I was going to give the counter person a tip, I would just pull the money out of my pocket. I would give him cash out of my pocket. Yummy. Oh, it is like I was invited over to a friend's house for dinner last week, and so I brought a loaf of bread. And there is something about watching somebody take their first bite they've ever had of bread with fresh milled flour. You have no idea what wheat tastes like. I didn't until I started, cooking with it. It is just different. It is so much better. It's like I say, it's like going from 1080, or it's like going from 40p to 4K in terms of the flavor. There is so much more flavor to it than you ever thought there was. Oh wow, I don't have the energy to mill and bake and all that. Once in a while I buy some rosemary bread or something. It actually takes like it takes about 10 minutes of work to bake a loaf of bread. Most of the time is just the dough rising and baking. You don't actually have to do a lot of work, and the mill does the milling. It's you weigh the grain, you pour it in, you run the mill, and that takes like 30 seconds. And then you just mix up the ingredients, and that takes about 10 minutes, and then you let it rise, and then you shape it. That takes another couple of minutes, and then you put it in the oven and wait for it to cool. It's actually, I think, in terms of the amount of time I put into doing it, it takes me less time to bake a loaf of bread than to go to the store and buy one. I use coffee in my bread, and that gets rid of the flavor issue for me. But that sounds so nice. Definitely going to check that out. Thank you. I'll put in a link. Hang on a second. I'll see if this will work. I actually have an affiliate link I can share with you. Okay. So all right, so this is my affiliate link. Oh, come on. All right. If it doesn't work, that you can, if you're not able to click on that, if it doesn't work for some reason, then what you can do, oh wait, is that, just go to azurestandard.com. Oh, okay, whoops, maybe that didn't work. Let me try this. You can also just go to azurestandard.com, and then when you check out, just type in Kelly Scaletta 1. And that's my affiliate link. But yeah, it's totally, I have an evangelical personality. So like when I find something that I really like, I want to tell people about it. And I cannot tell you. As far as the coffee goes, have you ever tried putting coffee grounds in your brownies? If you bake brownies, add just like a teaspoon of instant coffee or coffee grounds, and it just the coffee and the chocolate, it you don't really taste the coffee, but it intensifies the chocolate flavor. So I'll type in the full link. Yeah, just Kelly. You can also just check out, and Kelly Scaletta 1 is also like this. Just you can that's the code. You get the routine, and then it's like brushing your teeth. Yeah, 10 minutes less on the phone is worth it. Yeah, and for the nutritional benefits, you get, I think, what is it like? There's like, I don't know, some number of amino acids you need, and it's got Like there's 46 of them, and it's got like fresh milled grain has like 42 of them or something. It's like an incredibly healthy food. If you have celiac disease, do not use regular wheat. But if you just have like a wheat intolerance, a lot of people that have had wheat, issues, but not celiac disease, have actually uh, gotten rid of their wheat issues by eating the fresh milled flour, because there's actually stuff inside the wheat that helps you digest it. Jesus made you, but because of sin you got away from him, so he brought you with his blood. Okay, I don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about. Ooh, no, I haven't. And I make so many brownies like once a week. Oh yeah. Just if you have like some instant espresso, put in a teaspoon of it. You will just be like, whoa. Another thing you can do. I make these things called burrito brownies. I call them burrito brownies. And I mill hard black beans, and I use that for the flour. And then instead of oil, I just put in a whole avocado. And then I add in the sweetener and everything, and they're like incredibly moist. You don't have any idea of that it's made with black beans. I know some people have made them with cooked black beans. I think it's a lot better with dried black beans that have never been cooked. But I've been experimenting. I don't have issues with gluten, but I've been working on some recipes, and I've been working on some gluten-free recipes. And that's like, if you want some gluten-free brownies that would just shock people that it's gluten-free, that's an idea. So stand by. Okay, I don't know what I'm waiting for. Can we all agree Argentina? Oh, so Harry, how you doing? I saw your comment earlier. Hello, and I accidentally scrolled past it. Can we all agree Argentina deserves a serious punishment for openly violating FIFA's apolitical rules? And can we all agree Donald Trump's repeated threats about the Falklands are disgusting? I have not heard about his threats on the Falklands. Is he talking about the Falklands now? He is a terrible human being. He's evil. I just do not understand how anybody can support him. Let me see what you're talking about with the or is he? It sounds like so much of what Donald Trump it seems like he's trapped in the 80s. And he keeps bringing up these 80s talking points. If you're referring to the recent controversy, it wasn't a single direct statement by Donald Trump about who owns the Falkland Islands. Rather, there have been two separate developments. The Trump administration reportedly considered reviewing the longstanding U.S. position on the Falkland Islands sovereignty. According to Reuters, an internal Pentagon communication indicated the administration was considering reassessing U.S. support for the U.K.'s position as part of broader tensions with European allies over the Iran war. I'm going to assume that's what you're talking about. Oh, and then after Argentina's World Cup team displayed Las Malvinas son Argentinas, the Falklands are Argentine banner, the White House defended the players' right to express that political view under the First Amendment rather than condemning them. That was the statement from the White House officials, not Trump personally, which, of course, the First Amendment is not at issue here. It's the FIFA's rules, right? Like, nobody's saying that they should be arrested, but if they violated FIFA's non-political rules, then they violated FIFA's non-political rules. It has nothing to do with constitutional rights or the First Amendment or anything else. I guarantee you, if it had been the U.S. putting up an anti-Trump banner, they wouldn't be saying it's a constitutional right, First Amendment thing. We hear from that. I mean, like, one of the things is, did you hear about this guy? Okay, there was this guy. There was a guy that he after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and they were doing all this kind of like eulogizing Charlie Kirk like he was one of the greatest Americans in history and naming things after him and all that kind of stuff. He posted a meme of Donald Trump saying, "It's time we get over it." In a MAGA group, and that was referring to this school that was, the something or other school shooting. It's sad that we can't even keep all the school shootings straight. But anyway, he posted a meme about that. And then there was a school with that name in the same county, well, a similar name. And so then the sheriff acted like that was some kind of threat to go and do a school shooting, arrested him, and he spent like the next 3 months in jail over a meme that he posted on Facebook. And these are the people that say that they're champions of the First Amendment. Anyway, the guy was eventually let out, and they settled a lawsuit for like $800,000. So now the people of that town have to pay $800,000 in taxes because the sheriff, got a feelings boo-boo over a Facebook meme. I've heard of the black bean trick, but never tried it. But there are so many recipes I put coffee in. Yeah. I hear a lot of people's skin clears up over there too. That's an interesting thing. There are a lot of issues that clear up, and when you start going to fresh milled flour, and it's not like some people are like, I don't believe in miracle cures, and it's like not a miracle cure. It's just you're not eating all the stuff that's causing the problems in the first place. Like what they do to fresh milled flour, it's like the like all-purpose flour and stuff. You're like, I bake my own bread. I don't buy it's the most processed food in your kitchen is fresh milled flour. And it's terrible for you. It's just terrible. And so you stop eating something that's terrible for you and you clear up. It's amazing. But then you also start adding something that actually has a lot of nutrition and a lot of fiber and a lot of the really good things for you. It's really high in insoluble fiber, which I think is what cleared up my stomach issues. He threatened to withdraw U.S. support for UK's ownership of the islands. Right. So he has a thing with islands. Good. That was subtle. Why in the world would YouTube hold that comment for you? I had to manually approve it. Oh, maybe because YouTube picked up on the Epstein suggestion. Trump knows no bounds. Every other monument he wants to do colonialism. Every other moment he wants to do colonialism, except when we already ran out of most of our tools just fighting Iran. He just wants to run around conquering the world. He really wants to be king of the world. Like so much of the stuff he says and does. Like he gets mad that Europe doesn't do what he told them to do. Like he unilaterally declared war on Iran, and then he's mad that NATO didn't join him in his war on Iran like they're supposed to or something. You're not king of the world. You're not even king of America. You've got a gutless Republican Congress that lets you run over them. You can insult Ted Cruz's wife, and he would say thank you. Oh, wait, that actually happened. Like, that's how gutless they are. They're so gutless. Make America gutless again. That's what I just keep thinking about that one. That's what it should be. Make America gutless again, because that's what he's doing. I don't know. I approved it. Might be because there's Epstein Island bots around instead of what I think that was. And Trump trying to steal Greenland. Oh, yeah. Well, there's that one. Oh, New Zealand islands? I haven't even heard about that. It's hard to keep track of all the insanity that Trump spews on a daily basis. So what are you guys' thoughts on the did you see the Politico poll? Only 36, 37% of MAGA voters, of MAGAs, right? Not Americans, of MAGAs approve the Iranian war at this point. Like, that's a pretty Small set of a pretty small set. Like you figure if MAGAs make up 40% of voters, which is kind of a generous, and then 37 percent of that would be about 15% of the population right now that supports the war. And you see these the MSNBC's been doing a lot of interviews with MAGAs on the war, and they're like, he is losing support. He is losing MAGAs. He ran on two things, right? No new wars and lower prices. And the Iran war is one, breaking the promise about no new wars directly, and breaking the promise about lowering prices indirectly. So people are a little bit frustrated. They were saying, that's what I voted for. That's what I voted for. And now they can't say that on this. They can sit there and be like all excited and happy that he's murdering American citizens because that's what they voted for. But that's other American citizens. Like, that's not them, so it doesn't matter. But when it's their money that's going into the gas at the pump, then they get all concerned and worried and upset. Canada pulling all American alcohol from shelves after latest bully threats from Trump. And that's going to hurt American businesses. But does Trump care? Trump doesn't drink, so he probably doesn't care. He just snorts Adderall. It's like either getting enough enzymes you are deficient in or not getting too much added iron. Or not. Yeah. And there's something called bioavailability. So when they first, back 100 years ago, like before, like 120 years ago, they didn't have, processed flour. And it's a fairly recent thing in terms of human history. And back in the day, they came up with these mills and processed flour, and home bakers were like, man, this, they didn't have the, electric impact mill I had. They had like a thing where they had to sit there and grind it themselves, and it was a lot more work. And so it saved them all this work. And they're like, okay, cool. But the flour turns really fast. And so they started taking out the bran. And because the bran has all the oil, but the bran also has all the vitamins in it. And so they started stripping out all the good stuff so that it wouldn't go bad. And it also has all the flavor, by the way. And so then they like bleached it and stripped out everything. And then they had to add the vitamins back in. I don't know how they do that. But it's not the same as like having the vitamins actually in the food as the added vitamin. Like fortified vitamins are not fortified food is not the same thing as the vitamins that are actually in the food. This is something that I did not know. And it's called bioavailability. Your body actually, if you eat an orange and you get like 100 milligrams of vitamin C from an orange, I'm just making up that number off the top of my head. There's other stuff in that orange that goes along with it that actually facilitates you processing and digesting that vitamin C, so that the vitamin C actually gets delivered to where it's supposed to go once it hits your body. That's called bioavailability. And the bioavailability for an orange that you eat is not the same thing as like the tablet that you eat, because there's not the other stuff in there. And so when they started fortifying the flour, it didn't have the same nutritional impact. But before they started doing it, like people started having iron deficiencies or stuff. Anyways, it's sort of an interesting history. I'm just saying, if you've never tried it, go to azure.standard or azurestandard.com, buy some milled flour, make your own bread, and tell me if you if you think it's the difference. Trump wants to tariff Canada 50% because of the smoke floating over our borders from the Canadian forest fires. If we ever have a good trade agreement with Canada again, it would be a miracle. He is so stupid. And remember when we had the fires in California and Canada came to help us and Mexico came to help us? Why aren't we sending people to help put out the fires in Canada? It's not Canada's fault that the fire started. It's not like they went and maliciously decided to start a fire. Trump is so stupid. He is so stupid that he can't figure that out. I just cannot believe how stupid that man is and is still president. He is by far the dumbest human being to ever lead a country. I need that extra iron, though, in reinforced food items. 8647. Oh, careful. Careful. That comment might put you in jail. Just ask James Comey. He's such a dick. Trump puts on diapers. Yes, he does. That's not... If you've ever seen, there's an interview on YouTube. If you've never looked it up, there's an interview with and this is not a new problem. Look up the interview with the guy that was the producer of The Apprentice. And I think it's because he snorted so much Adderall and cocaine that it actually kind of just destroyed his digestion system. So even back then he had, like, he would just crap his pants all the time. And so they, he was wearing adult diapers, and they had a guy whose job was to change Trump's diapers. Like, he was called the diaper guy. That was his role. Can you imagine that? I cannot think of a more disgusting job than that. I hope they paid him like a lot of money. What do you do for a living? I'm the diaper guy. I change Donald Trump's diapers. Now, I don't know who does it over in the White House. Probably Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio would be honored to change Donald Trump's diapers. Trump, who do you think? Who? Go ahead. We're just going to throw this out. The comment section is nice and steady today. It's not too slow. It's not too fast. Who do you think changes Donald Trump's diapers? It's not Melania. I'll tell you that much. Trump and Putin suck. They do. Ma'am Donnie announced if Bibi enters New York, he will be arrested. And I 100% have no problem with that. We've got the guy from Maduro. He went on, or had some kind of hearing today. The guy had his court date set for June 1st. If we can arrest Maduro in another country, we can, for a legitimate, or a questionable, a very highly questionable subpoena, then we can arrest Bibi in America for a very, very legitimate subpoena. The man is committing war crimes. Donald Trump's threatening war crimes. Have you heard he's like talking about like bombing civilian targets and electricity and water plants, and like he just wants to, he's a psychopath. He's a sociopath. Right after he made a deal with Canada and replacing the deal that he made with Canada before, that was now a terrible deal. That was the greatest deal ever made when he signed it. Donald Trump insulted Senator Ted Cruz's wife, and he said, thank you. I don't know if he said thank you, but he turned around and endorsed him. He also accused Ted Cruz's father of being behind the Kennedy assassination. What kind of deal? Lowest rating in all of history. And it's going to get worse. He's getting less popular. That's what I'm saying. Mark my words. The Democrats are going to win in a landslide. It's going to be a blue nami. I've talked about it before. There's something called dummy mandering, to where you gerrymander the districts and you take off some of your lead in a safe district and put it in another district so that you can gain control of that lead. But, and that's what gerrymandering is. When you dummy mander, you end up losing. You don't put enough votes in the new one, and you take off too many votes out of the one that was safe, so that it becomes unsafe, and you end up losing both districts. Mark my words, in Texas, dummy mandering will be an impact. Texas is going to lose seats. There will be fewer Republican seats in Texas in the 2026 election than there are now. That's my prediction. If I'm wrong, come back and mock me, laugh at me, do whatever you want. But I think that Texas ends up losing Republican seats. It's going to be one of the big things that comes out of this that we're talking about the day after the election. And it's going to make it impossible for Donald Trump to sit there and talk about how the election was stolen. Because nobody's going to argue that the man in charge of the elections in Texas and is on the ticket rigged it for the Democrats. But there has been multiple studies proving that public opinion has pretty much no effect on what the U.S. government does. There's nothing. Public opinion doesn't have any effect on what Donald Trump does, that's for sure. But I think that the public opinion is a sentiment of what the public is going to do in the 2026 election. I mean, you all complain about your government nonstop, but re-election rates couldn't be higher if you were trying. Yeah, that's not true. I mean, we have the last president to be re-elected was Barack Obama. We flip House back and forth like several times since then. We flipped the Senate back and forth several times since then. So it used to be that incumbents were always safe. Now they're getting clocked. And even the primaries are voting out incumbents. So I think that was once true. It used to be the safest job in America was U.S. Senator. Not so much anymore. Bibi coming to New York in September 2026. I think Mamdani will have him detained for war crimes. What do you guys think? Should he? I think it would definitely be an interesting thing, especially ahead of the election. How would that affect the elections? I think there's a lot of boomers and maybe some Gen X that don't realize that just how unpopular Israel is right now, even among Jewish voters. Like, there's a lot of liberal Jewish voters that I know that are not fond of Bibi and his war crimes. They actually feel like Bibi and his war crimes are actually putting a target on the backs of Jewish people. And I have to say I agree. Even on this show, I have people on the left who make anti-Semitic comments based on what Bibi is doing. And that's why I always have to rein those people in and say, no, this is not Jewish people. Like, don't despise all Jews because of what Bibi is doing. The average Jewish American is no more responsible for Bibi's actions than they are for Trump's actions. If you're not responsible for what Trump is doing, then, don't make every Jewish person responsible for what Bibi is doing. Is JD Vance on? Is it? Anyway. I never want to say like Jews, like the Jews don't want to do this because it feels like anti-Semitic, but I'm not sure if it is. And, that's just a thing in my head. But I say Jewish people instead of Jews because Jews feels like too, what's the word? Too much like a pejorative. Is JD Vance on maternity leave? Have not seen him in days. Did Erica Kirk have her baby? See what I did there? Yeah, right. Mamdani has no authority to do that. Why not? There's a warrant. Why wouldn't he have authority to do that? Okay, let me ask. Okay, can local police serve a warrant? Serve an international warrant? Yes, local police can serve an international warrant, but only after it's vetted and processed through federal authorities and converted into a local fugitive warrant. Okay, so maybe you're right, because there's no way that that's going to happen. But it'd be interesting to see him force the issue. His couch is giving birth to his Davenport bastard. Bastard. He's kept all his other promises. I think he'll do it. He won't be able to hold him unless the feds get involved. Okay, so Brett cleared that up too. I think that what's going to end up happening here is we're going to get, okay, so apparently he can't do it unless the federal government declares him a fugitive. That seems to be the case. We will establish that Mamdani can't do it. But let's not lose sight of the fact that Bibi is still a war criminal that has murdered tens of thousands of people and rendered millions of people homeless. This may get the ball rolling, though he is a war criminal. Imagine a mayor arresting the leader of an ally country. He would be in prison so fast. No, that's not treason. How is that treason? You know what's treason? Trying to overthrow your own country. I mean, there is an actual international warrant out for Bibi's arrest. And so I imagine that he won't end up doing it because it's not legally possible. But let's not just gloss over the fact that Bibi is a war criminal that's committing war crimes. Don't just ignore that part of it because you don't like to hear it. Imagine a president going into another country and taking another country's leader. Oh yeah, that happened. That you don't have to imagine. And Venezuela was our ally too. We had a treaty with them about this specific sort of thing, about how to, carry out a arrest warrant. We had a rendition treaty with Venezuela that we did not a rendition, what is it? Extradition treaty with Venezuela. By the way, even the crimes he committed, he's never set foot on American soil. He's never been in America. And we're sitting there accusing him of crimes that he committed. Why is he subject to U.S. law? He's never even been here. Imagine a president having 34 felonies. Imagine voting for somebody that has 34 felonies to be president. Imagine supporting a president that's threatening war crimes, like threatening to kill civilians because the other country killed soldiers after we attacked them. I've had stomach issues for a long time. And when I went to the doctors, they tried selling me like $50 digestive biohealth pills. Ever since I started making my own bread, it helps loads. Definitely going to try it. Yes, please do. If you ever need any help, if you ever need any advice on how to do things, feel free to, message me or whatever. You can reach me at machinepunkelly@gmail.com or just DM me on Twitter or Blue Sky, and because it's helped me so much. It's helped my health so much. I just want other people to try it. And I'm also an affiliate for Nutrimil. So if you need a deal, like if you try it with the flour that you bought and you decide you want to go the whole 9 yards, I can get you a 20% discount on a grain mill that I use. It used to be that if you ate white bread, you didn't eat dark bread with more fiber. You were at risk with beriberi. I don't know what beriberi is. Are you serious? I'm always. I don't know what are you asking if I'm serious about? But your bread, so-called bread in America, would be legally defined as cake in Britain. Yeah, there's that. There. I like this. I hate to say that RFK Jr. is right about anything, but the one thing he is right about is we have way too much super processed food. I ferment my own kefir. I ferment my own yogurt. I ferment vegetables. I ferment fruits. I ferment my own kombucha, my coffee kombucha. I ferment a lot of things. Probiotics that you get at the store or in a capsule don't really do any good. But if you ferment a variety of foods, it really kicks up your probiotics in your stomach. And like, anyway, they've done microbiome science is like relatively new, and we're still like learning a lot. Even like, did you know this? Your small intestine, or not your small intestine, your appendix actually has a function. We were always taught it's an appendage that no longer has a function, but your microbiome has a collection of probiotics, of microbes in it that help you digest your food. And like, so when it comes down, if you think of your food, your stomach is like a train station, and the food comes down in the train, and your probiotics, your micro, in your microbiome, they jump on the train, they start unpacking all the packages on the food, and they send the vitamins here and the minerals there and the fibers there, and then they use like some of the, like, the butyrate, they use that to literally line your stomach with fiber, so that like if you have IBS and stuff like that, it can help a lot with that, because the stuff in the wheat is like used to line your stomach, and it stops things like leaky gut syndrome. And so and the probiotics do all that, but we've 40% less microbiotics than other countries. Like, that's we it's insane how bad our stomach health is, and we've never really thought about it. But the appendix evolved as like a little it stores, it's like like on your computer you have your original image that came on your computer, or like your operating software, so that if you have to reboot and reset your whole computer, it kind of goes back to the original thing and gets rid of all the viruses and stuff like that. That's what your appendix holds. It holds like a hard copy of your original microbiome, so that if you have to go through a course of antibiotics or something like that that wipes out your microbiome, it restores your microbiome. And nobody knew that, because we didn't know about the microbiome. And even like mother's milk has hormones, or has a hormone in it that doesn't do the baby any good at all. It doesn't do the baby any good at all. It just feeds the baby's microbiome. So like the appendix and the and even breast milk are evolved to take care of your microbiome. Like, that's how important your microbiome is. That evolution has actually evolved your microbiome along with you, along with the human stomach. It's really amazing. So anyway, sorry to go off on this tangent. What a joke. I don't know what the joke is. They definitely paying the diaper guy minimum. Oh, poor diaper guy. The human printer definitely changes his diapers. Who's the human printer? I'm not. She's obsessed with him. That's disgusting. The auto wiper, the auto wiper rather than an auto pen. I say Donald Trump is an auto pen. Like when he sits there and he's like barely staying awake while they explain to him what he's signing, and then he like, signs his signature with all the flamboyance and gusto of a 5-year-old. LMAO. Actually, war crimes weren't threatened by Don. They were committed, weren't just threatened. he's threatening new ones. They were committed after the bridges and civilian infrastructure were destroyed. Yes. And now he's threatening to do more. Now he's even talking about like the water plants and stuff like that. Like that could just be devastating to like thousands of innocent people. And those are they are literally war crimes. And that's not counting the war crimes in the Caribbean. He's a war criminal. Hey, Revival, how you doing today? Didn't see you yesterday. Hope you're doing well. Although, or is that a or is that a Although I don't think the U.S. is a participant of the International Criminal Court Treaty. No, the U.S. is not, because then they know that, we would be subject to it. I think there's like U.S. isn't and Russia isn't or something. There's a couple of countries that aren't signed on. You would think we would be, right? That we would think that war crimes are bad, but no. Which allows them to issue a war for warranted war criminals across the world. Also, when the UN wanted to make food a human right, there was only one country that voted no, the U.S. God. The Christian right opposed to feeding children. The saddest part is even if this administration doesn't cheat or straight up disallow elections this November, there's so many secret MAGA that will have to be fished out of all areas of government. Which is like, like we talk about Trump, going through and up, getting rid of the deep state or whatever. So now he's got his little lemmings in there to gummy up the works after he's gone in 2028. And now we have to do the same thing after we complain about it. But it's like, it is actually different. It's like the weaponization of government. They sit there and they yelled about weaponization of government. Then they came in and they literally weaponized the government. Now we go back in and say, we're going to prosecute them for actually weaponizing the government. And I'm worried that it's just going to be this continuous thing. But I definitely don't think that we need to prosecute real criminals for real crimes. Donald Trump really committed a crime on January 6th. James Comey did not commit a crime when he posted a picture of seashells on Instagram. And I hope the American people are smart enough to be able to see that real crimes deserve to be really prosecuted. So what? Nobody cares. Okay. Why are you here if you don't care? Did you see Wildberries was destroyed? I don't know what do you mean Wildberries were destroyed? You look like WikiLeaks founder. I do. Ukraine is able to get deep inside Russia. Now with okay, what do you mean by Wildberries? I guess you're not talking about the food. Go clear your surf history. Bet I hate to see his Pornhub search history. JD Vance's baby. We see what you did. They can, but the United States isn't a member of the treaty that set up the ICC. Wouldn't he have diplomatic immunity? No, not if he's not a diplomat. Um, uh, but maybe, I don't know. Anyway, we already decided Mamdani couldn't legally arrest him or have him arrested. I mean, maybe have it lined up for him to be extradited immediately. NYPD versus feds. My money on the biggest gang in New York. Store bought. Yeah, except that the NYPD thinks they work for Trump. Store bought microbiome stuff. Yeah. No, no, no. Just get it from food. Some stuff, like, it's so easy to do some of these things. Like, here's, you know how hard it is to, you get some kefir seeds, you pour a glass, you put it in a jar, and you pour you fill it up with milk, and then you know, like, you get a coffee filter and you put that on top of the jar, and then you hold it in place with the band of the ball jar lid, and then you wait like a day, and then you put it, you strain it and you put it in the fridge, and you get kefir. The kefir you make at home has like 100 times more probiotics than the kefir you buy in the store. RFK, less processed foods, more raccoon wean. Yeah, see, that's where we split. Like, I don't wear a raccoon penis around my neck. All aboard for the poo-poo kachoo. Poo-poo kachoo. Oh my goodness. Somebody's got to write that song. Human printer, they are talking about that nut job lady that has been traveling everywhere with him. Oh, the one that prints off all the stories. Like, he has to read stories about himself. Oh, that's who they're talking about. Just grow wild in your chair and shut up. Okay, Kurt. And if I don't, what are you going to do? I've been MIA the past week. Well, you're not MIA anymore. He's just a cult leader. Get a job, Brett. Uh-huh. Okay. You'd hate to see all of our search histories. My search history, you would not be surprised at, because I'm pretty much I'm not the most I don't exactly screen my thoughts on this stream. What you see, what I stream is who I am, to be frank. To be fair, y'all don't want to see my search history either. Wild berries, Russia's largest e-commerce platform and equivalent to Amazon. Oh, okay. I was thinking, because I was like thinking to the, like all the food contests, I was thinking like actual wild berries. You still have to follow your own country's laws within reason, even with said diplomatic immunity. Well, if because my dad was a diplomat and I actually had a diplomatic passport. And the nicest thing about a diplomatic passport is there's like a separate line for people with diplomatic passports in the airport for screening and everything. And you just like have like, especially when you're going through customs, of course, and there's like this 2-hour line, and you just go and you just walk through past everybody. But yeah, if you can't be prosecuted, but you can be kicked out of the country. And there's also the possibility that the country waives your diplomatic immunity. Like, if you go to another country, or like, let's say somebody from the, English embassy, like some child of a diplomat from like an adult child of a diplomat came over here on a diplomatic passport, and their dad's the ambassador, and then they went and raped and killed a girl. The England could waive immunity. They could waive that diplomatic immunity, and then that person could still go to trial. So when it comes to egregious crimes, often diplomatic immunity gets waived, or else you just get kicked out of the country. My brother, this is how I know about this. My brother, we were in Liberia. My brother got busted buying pot, and so he got kicked out of the country. I just farted in your general direction. Enjoy my brand. Okay. The only one smelling it is you. Following extensive legal review, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani officially clarified that the city lacks independent legal jurisdiction to enforce international warrants. Any local attempt to detain a visiting head of government remains legally impossible due to a combination of federal, local, and international laws. So, yeah, I think we put that baby to rest now. My search history, NSFW. My search history is stuff like, how do I make bread? I don't know. Maybe not that one. But I'm always like, I think of ideas for foods, and then I see if it's been done before and try to figure out recipes. I'm in the midst of writing a book on fermenting and milling with fresh milled flour and how that's good for your stomach. The United States is not a party to the Rome Statute and does not recognize the jurisdictions of the ICC. Consequently, ICC warrants carry no domestic legal weight or enforcement mechanism within the U.S. Yes. Immunity. As a sitting prime minister, Netanyahu possesses full diplomatic immunity under international law. Okay, thank you. Furthermore, foreign leaders traveling to New York to attend official United Nations General Assembly meetings are strictly processed for domestic arrest by international treaty agreements. So he can't be arrested. Of course, it was against the law for the United States to go in and grab Maduro to serve a warrant. The way I see it, done, and the fact is that whether we can indict him or not, whether we can serve the warrant or not, he's still a war criminal. He's still destroyed the homes of nearly 3 million people. He's still, how many people have died? Okay, so 63,000 Palestinians have died in Gaza, with tens of thousands more wounded, while specific casualty tracking for Palestinians in Lebanon is less centralized. Hundreds of thousands have been displaced across the country. So we don't even know how many. But I think, you know, if you combine everything, and the 73,000 is actually a really conservative estimate. I think, you know, we're probably getting close to 100,000 people. And sure, Hamas going in and killing 2,000 Israelites or Jewish people in Israel, that's not okay. And I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying that they were okay. But that doesn't justify killing 100,000 Gazans that had nothing to do, or Palestinians that had nothing to do with it. Oof. Yeah, I initially learned how to make bread by looking it up, and making it with FMF. Fresh milled flour is like a whole different thing, but I've kind of got some recipe. I've got that part of it down, so I don't really search for that anymore. But I'll look at like fermented bananas are a thing you probably never thought of, but I made this fermented banana bread that was just, my wife took one bite of it and she's like, this is the best banana bread ever. Like, sincerely, not just giving me a compliment, but she's like, you need to sell this. It was really, really good. I made it with fermented bananas and einkorn wheat berries. My search history is mostly random artists, art selling platforms, and gay robots. I don't know what gay robots are. My search history is mostly just stream of consciousness. I will have a random thought and do a search on it. I've really messed up baking bread before. Had a lump of flour. Hey, just message me and I will help you. I like I have learned to love baking so much. It's really a hobby. And it's so good. It's so good. Most of my history is arguing with Google Gemini because it's always bleeping wrong. So I use Chat GPT, and so today I was like taught, or on this thing that I was working out that I'm going to post on Facebook later. By the way, you if you're not already following me on Facebook, I am on Facebook, and just Kelly Scaletta. Here, I'll put in my link here. I got to do a better job of promoting myself. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can either just search me or you can click here. But just message me on Twitter or Blue Sky or Facebook or whatever, and I will be happy to help you learn how to bake. But anyway, I was talking to Chat GPT today on this whole thing that I'm working on, this post for Facebook on using propositional logic and Bayesian logic to look at the January 6th insurrection and just the logic behind whether or not the FBI and or the Antifa could have been behind it. And I don't use chat or any AI as research, but I use it for research. Like I use it like an enhanced search engine and like look at the linked sources and stuff like that. I vet whatever it comes up. And so anyway, I was talking to it and it was saying at a certain point, it said, no, I can't answer that. And I was like, why not? And it's like, well, I can't use, I can't give persuasive political speech. And I'm like, but I'm not being persuasive. I'm literally just talking about the logic. And it's like, and so chat literally told me, I can't do it because your logic is too persuasive. Like it's when you start looking at the actual logic and map it out, even chat is like saying, yeah, this is too persuasive. I thought that was funny. Not sourdough banana bread. I haven't tried sourdough banana bread. This was banana bread using fermented bananas. Fermented bananas are like extremely easy. But you know how like the secret to banana bread, everybody says the secret is use overripe bananas. This is like taking it to another level. You take the banana, you put it in a jar, and you see, you use an anaerobic ferment, and you just kind of mash bananas up, put the coffee filter in the band on the jar, let it sit for a day, you have a fermented banana. And I think, like I always thought before of just fermenting food is it just tastes sour. It actually, like the umami flavors, it actually adds so much more flavor to do a ferment. And there's like anaerobic ferments and aerobic ferments. Anyway, fermented bananas are amazing, and even just have some with yogurt, and it's really different. Are you really a trans man? No, but I'm really wondering why that would matter to you. You're not here to ask what a woman is, are you? Because if you don't know by now, maybe your mom would have swallowed. There's trans women, like this is how I answer this question now. Trans women, there's actually two definitions. And then the whole thing, the whole gotcha of it is that the question itself is a loaded question that is doubling up as an equivocation fallacy, right? The definition actually has two meanings, right? It has a biological meaning and it has a sociological meaning, right? It can mean, a person born with a vagina. It can also mean a person who identifies as a woman. And both are in the dictionary, right? But the question is meant to like use one definition to nullify the other definition. So I point out there's actually the two definitions. There's the biological definition and there's the sociological definition. And a woman, by the biological definition, is somebody that they will never have intercourse with. And a woman, by the sociological definition, is a person who covers their drink when they walk into a bar. Can you put a link to your Twitter, please? Yes, I can. Hang on. All right. So, just waiting for it to load up. My browser's running a bit slow. Okay. Okay, here we go. And that's just x.com/Kelly Scaletta. But let me, I need to go back over here. Okay. All right, there we go. That was my original social media home, was Twitter. Chatbots are still too sycophantic. Yeah, it's I mean, I definitely have argued with chat. Don't you have to ferment it properly or you get sick? Yeah, but that's the proper way to ferment it. Fermenting is, I thought it was like this big complicated thing. There's anaerobic ferments and there's aerobic ferments. Anaerobic means that you don't have air in it and you just get these like special lids that let out the gas because the gas builds up. But fermenting is so like there's fermenting and there's pickling. And pickling, you just put stuff in vinegar, right? And it's just about getting the acid level up so that microbes can't grow. That's all it is. And when you ferment it, you're doing that naturally instead of using vinegar. And once you get that acidic level up, then stuff can't grow. You can store fermented stuff in the fridge for like a lot longer. So like you have some berries going bad, either throw them in the freezer or ferment them. Like there's stuff. One of the things that I really like to do is get grapes and ferment grapes and all that. Just do an aerobic ferment of grapes, and then what happens? You just put in a little bit of sugar with them to give some extra the microbes or whatever. Give them some extra stuff to nibble on. And the grapes, they're like if you ever had Pop Rocks when you were a kid, they get they become these little fuzzy or fizzy bombs, and they're amazing. They're like so much better. Like you would be like, I didn't know grapes could taste this good. Kelly, you caught up, and now I'm behind. It's almost like I got behind just when you were saying. Social logic meaning is just theory, biology is the scientific. Both meanings, words are words, dude. Words are words. Words have meanings. They're a communication of thought. Whether you think that it's a scientific fact or not doesn't change that the word is not a scientific fact. A whole is a whole. That's my motto. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to say it. Trans people exist. They've existed in every society throughout the history of civilization. It's not like the Democrats didn't invent trans people just to, go after Christians or something. So a porcupine is as good as a woman. Ooh, is it a porcupine woman? Anyway, good question. Thank you for science. I mean, there's real science behind transgender people existing too, but the science that's there, the bigots don't want to pay attention to. Like James Talarico, when he said that he didn't say there are 6 genders. He said there are 6 chromosome combinations. So just defining gender is not as easy as you think it is. And words get their meaning changed over time, like gay, for example. I like to, like in a non-political thing, I like to use the word peruse. If you actually look up the definition of the word peruse, the original meaning of the word is to study something carefully. And the word peruse, the way we use it is like you kind of like briefly read something. And they have opposite meanings. So when you say peruse, what do you mean? It has 2 different meanings. Some words have meanings, more than one meaning. And when you try to use one word to when you flip back and forth between the meanings of the words to create an argument, that's called an equivocation fallacy. You're equivocating the 2 meanings of the words. Dig a body up 100 years after death with a confirmed trans. Day ferment is unlikely to get dangerous mold if it's a fruit. There's videos on how to tell salt, sugar, or heat kill the microbes before they can eat. You just you're a poet and you didn't know it. I have only made pickles recently. Yeah. With pickles, you're doing a salt, or you're using an anaerobic ferment. You just add like a % of salt to the total weight. Usually, I think like 1.5%, 2% is usually good for pickles. So it doesn't get too salty. And, just don't want to have ionized salt. That's the only thing. And that's great. It's actually really easy. You don't even need the special cap, but then you don't have to burp it, so because the gas will build up. If I'm spelling words, am I casting spells? Yes, I think. Well, actually, if you're holding a tryout for the words to have a part in your play, I don't have much experience because the last person in my house fermented cheese. Yeah, I haven't tried dealing with fermenting cheese. And I'm gonna get my own fridge before I mess with anything else. Yeah, I haven't tried fermenting my own cheese. I've fermented dairy stuff. Like I do yogurt, I do kefir, and I do cream, where I take a little bit of my kefir and a little bit of my yogurt, and then use that to as like a starter, like a sourdough starter, except for cream. And then I've made that into ice cream, and oh my goodness, that is good. That is so good. If you've like fermented ice cream is just amazing. Hey, Kitty, how you doing? I was thinking about you this morning. I think somebody was asking about you. Dustin was asking about you the other day. Oh no, you've got COVID? I managed 6 years to not get it, but the kids got me this time. Oh, did you get the Paxlovid? That's what helped me. Oh man, big hug for you. It sucks. It really sucks. How you doing? How the projects? Hi, they are so busy. We released our 4th podcast. How are you doing? All right, there are so many days I wish I was dumb. This is one of those days. Oh my goodness, the challenges of being smarter than the average bear. Pretty all right. Went to an art market, survived Chicago, calling a code purple on air quality. Oh my goodness. Because of the Canadian fires. That reminds me, I have some, and Chicago, in spite of being such a big city, generally has pretty clean air because the lake, there's so much air coming off the lake that it tends to clear things out. That reminds me, I have some Emmental or a top cheese in my fridge. I'm going to try it tonight. Ooh, fancy cheese guy. Republican subcommittees held a meeting claiming that the Smithsonian is promoting extreme political activism, saying they are infected by woke ideology, slavery, transgender, immigration. infected by woke. And so slavery, saying slavery was wrong is woke now. I am feeling so rough. And some complications, struggling to breathe. Oh no. Yes, I got good. Yeah, just get your rest and get over it as soon as and like just don't push yourself. Does your husband have it too, or are you guys sick together? Because like either way, you should stay separate. Even if you both have COVID, you should still stay separate. Because otherwise, if one of you starts getting over it, the other one can reinfect you. I've had COVID 4 times. The first time was the easiest. There's actually some real studies on this that each time you get it, it gets worse. I've only had it once, and I had long COVID for a long time afterwards. Even I haven't had any real symptoms of it in the last few months, so I think I finally got over it. But like if I pushed myself too hard in a day, I'd just like vomit. I even vomited in the middle of a podcast one time because I decided to push myself and didn't have it. Got to make your own custard and freeze it so good, especially with coffee. It's really rich like caramel. Yes. I'm telling you guys. I like if you don't follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky, I'll post pictures of food I've made, and people are always asking me like, how do you eat like this and lose 80 pounds? Because the food I make is not food that you would think is diet food, but it's just when you take care of your microbiome, when you take care of your gut health, it's like you don't really have to worry about what you're eating in terms of calories or portion size or anything like that, because your whole body is just the feedback system. There's something called the gut brain axis, and that's like the communication between your brain and your gut and telling you like when you're hungry and when you're full and what you want to eat. And once you get your gut healthy, it starts communicating correctly with your brain, so that what you want to eat and when you want to eat it and how much you want to eat just changes to something that's healthy. So that's Kitty's podcast Substack. It's really good. I am telling you, the team that Kitty has put together, if you want to know anything about Epstein, that's vetted, not spreading propaganda, but vetted and well thought out and carefully researched, and just subscribe to that Substack. If you want to know what's going on with Epstein, subscribe to that Substack and you will know what's going on with Epstein. Have you seen Donald Trump is on about demanding compensation for smoke? Yes. He's such a dipshit. Sorry. I don't usually swear on that, but man, that man is just so dumb. Remember, he didn't know how to spell dumb? That's how dumb he is. Like, he spelled dumb wrong. He called us dumb, and he didn't know how to spell dumb. Then he acted like nobody knows how to do it. Like, who knew how to spell dumb? And he discovered how to spell dumb, and he's like, oh, it's got a B in it. No medical advice, please, unless you are a certified mRNA expert. You can get banned for that. I'm not really giving anybody medical advice. With the I don't think I'm going to get banned for anything I said. Us and Saudi, and anyway, there are plenty of people that have no expertise in mRNA that have had YouTube videos that didn't get banned. I'm pretty aware of that. Every time somebody tells me to do my own research and they show me a YouTube video. US, us and Saudi Arabia agreed to a nuclear war deal. I don't know about that. What kind of, what do you mean? What is a nuclear war deal? Like they agreed to have nuclear war? Or are you talking about some kind of agreement on nuclear weapons. Do you mean like some sort of nuclear weapons deal? Yeah, the fires. Hopefully, it's not too smoggy in y'all's area. The COVID. I mean, it's bleeping ridiculous. I am so glad you have survived. I am so annoyed. I am annoyed. I did everything right, but still got it. Man. I was like really careful, and then I was at work, and I was wearing my mask, and then there was like a pizza party, and I just took it off to eat lunch with my coworkers, and got COVID in like that half an hour. The only half an hour that I've been around anybody, I had been around with anybody without a mask on in like the whole time. And the first half an hour, boom, I got COVID. Harry Canada has pulled American liquor from the shelves. Good for them. I mean, Canadian whiskey's fine. When will U.S. have legitimate third-party choice? When American voters want one. There's nothing prohibiting third parties. It's just, have you seen what the choices are? The Libertarian Party sucks. The platform sucks. Have you looked at the Libertarian Party platform or the Green Party platform? Like, if there were a third party that actually ran on something, I think if the DSA, and the other problem is, you've got left, right, center. Do you run to the left of the Democratic Party and then cut the Democratic Party in half? That's the problem. Because then the Republicans win, and that becomes the pragmatic reality of things. I think there's like a chance. I think it's more of moving a party to have a different ideology than it is having a third party. I think that, and the DSA right now, there was a poll that came out today. The DSA is actually more popular than Donald Trump right now. Like, 32% of Americans said that they would vote for a DSA-backed candidate, and only 29% said that they would vote for a candidate that supports Donald Trump. So right now, DSA is actually more popular than Donald Trump. Both my partners have it. And one of the kids. Oh, my goodness. They're attempting to remove museums as well regarding Black and gay histories. Yeah, I think some of that stuff got struck down by the courts. Did you lose your sense of smell and taste yet? Sometimes that happens. The entire house but one got it. That poor person is going to be busy. I fortunately, I did not lose my sense of smell and taste, because that would, like, that, all my joy in life is my cooking. My sense of smell came back in about 3 weeks, but for 6 months, everything smelled like sulfur, even cologne. Oh, man. What about your farts? I have not. Was kind of hoping so I could lose a little weight, but oh well. Charlie, that is the stupidest thing to say. Oh, about the MAGA thing, or you have to be a mRNA expert to talk about COVID or something. Can you post some food stuff on your channel here, please? I need to start doing that. It's just a matter of filming it. There's a couple of things on there, but yeah, I need to start doing more of that. It actually, I think, is people enjoy it more than my politics stuff. I took the first shot of Moderna and never got the second or booster. Haven't had COVID, but definitely been around it with family members. Disney and Roblox are legit pedophile grooming and SRA. I don't know what you're talking about. I would love the banana bread recipe, especially. Oh, okay. Next time I make it, I'll make a video and I'll post it. Coffee. One of the guys we have been investigating was found dead overnight. Oh my goodness! Like was this like a perpetrator or a victim? He misspelled dumb. It is in his speech today. He's such an idiot. Donald is a moron. Remember, Donald discovered B and dumb. He is the first person. It was just, he like tried to cover, like, did you know this? And he was like, who knew that dumb had a B? And he also misspelled tap one time. He spelled tap with two P's. They're going to tap my phones, and he spelled tap, T-A-P-P. I wonder if he knows how, does he spell cat with two T's? As a healthcare professional, the saddest part of COVID was explaining to the Trumpers on the way to the ventilator that it was too late for the vaccine they were begging for. Ah, you're a healthcare professional. I just, and it's like, I'm sorry, but if I had an anti-vax doctor, I would switch doctors. Because I don't, if that's the kind of thought process they're going to put into that, then I don't trust them with my health. The people who didn't survive are not here in the chat to explain how much they wish they had gotten a vaccine. Do they still? All right, it's gone now. There used to be a website called, I guess it's gone under. There was a website called sorryantivaxxer.com. And it was just all these people that had built up a big social media following, talking about, how they're anti-vaxxers and, had all this anti-vaxxer stuff. And then they would get vaxxer, and then like they'd either get really sick or some of them would die. And it was just all devoted to like these people that got big, huge followings by being anti-vaxxers and then got COVID and paid the price for not getting vaxxed. Darwin for the win. That is serious Darwin for the win. I mean, it's like to there's this MAGA thing that like, if you don't agree with Donald Trump on anything, then you're irrational, and science or history or whatever, actual objective reality is bent to whatever Donald Trump says. And if you don't bend your reality to what Donald Trump says, then you're the one that's insane. It's just, and even when they're dying, there was the one lady, I can't remember, whose dad died. And he was like, his dying words or something was, I shouldn't have listened to Trump. They passed the bill to combine our military with Israel. What? I need to look into that. That is insane. What does that mean? I'm going to look into that. I'm going to do a video on that tomorrow. I think the U.S. needs a center party to control the Democratic side. I don't think we need. I think the Democrat is the center party. I think we need a left party. Actually, I think the Republicans are right. Like you've got the MAGA wing, which is just fascist. Then you've got the Republican, not MAGA part, which is far right. Then you've got the Democrats, which are center right, and then you've got the DSA, which is center. Like compared to the rest of the world, that's pretty much center, right? We don't even have a left party. So we're officially under. Did it pass both houses? What people don't understand. Oh, we've got another person telling why Trump won. The people didn't like Biden administration policies. No, what? That's why Biden won. They didn't know. Biden won too, right? Didn't Biden win? People that come on and explain, like everybody's got their own opinion of why Trump won. Why Trump won is really obvious and really simple. All you have to do is look at the polling. They thought that Joe Biden was responsible for inflation. That's it. And like if you look at the polling on things like universal health care, the majority of the population is for that. Charlie, change the channel. You don't know why Trump won. Apparently, the United States and Saudi Arabia have signed a landmark civilian nuclear cooperation pact called the 123 Agreement, a 30-year deal for uranium enrichment in Saudi Arabia. So I guess it's okay for the people that paid for 9/11 to get nukes. Yeah, well, I mean, I know you're saying that's YouTube policy, but I don't think you actually know what you're talking about. That's the problem. So this is about nuclear fuel. But according to Donald Trump, if you can enrich uranium at all, you're basically 2 weeks away from nuclear weapons. That's just a MAGA talking point. It's just saying words without really saying anything. And the truth is, the silent majority didn't vote. And they're not silent. They're neither the majority nor are they silent. They're a minority of people that never shuts up. Even just a pick with a recipe. Okay, okay, I'll do that. I've actually got to start working on my website more. I have some recipes on my website. If you go to it's machinepunkelly.com, and there's a couple of recipes there. But the banana bread recipe isn't on there. So they're not getting nuclear weapons. It's a deal about nuclear energy. That's fine. Yeah, I have no problem with that. But considering Trump's conflation of any nuclear, any uranium enrichment at all means you're trying to get nuclear weapons, then I'm just kind of wondering why it's okay for Saudi Arabia to have it and not Iran, when Saudi Arabia is the one that actually carried out or sponsored the 9/11 attacks. 70 million is silent. Nobody said that they're silent. There's 70 million people that won't shut up. They're the ones that are always talking about the silent majority, which is ironic. If you're so silent, why won't you shut up about the silent majority? There's three, and it's not the minority. They literally did not win a majority of the votes. They got less than 50% of the votes. They won the popular election, yes, but they did not get the majority of the votes. Joe Biden got the majority of the votes. Barack Obama got the majority of the votes. And sorry, just having the winning a plurality of the votes one time in the last 20 years does not make you the majority. And just sitting there and putting your opinion on why people voted for Trump doesn't mean that you're right. Now they will, because Trump showed them what they got for not voting. Do you know what a false dichotomy is? They didn't vote, Charlie. What part of that don't you understand? I mean, honestly, what's your agenda? What policy? Like, you're stating this as though it's an unvarnished, unrefutable truth. What policy? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just talking, even though you don't know what you're talking about. This is why I say that the silent majority is not silent and not the majority. You just talk and talk and talk and talk, and everything that you guys say is wrong, but you still talk and talk and talk. I bet you still think Joe Biden, I bet you're the type of guy that sits there and goes, I bet you really think that Joe Biden got 81 million votes, when she did. 81 million is bigger than 70 million or 74 million. In a single election, the most votes that was ever gotten by any candidate is Joe Biden. But you won't admit that, will you? And do you think they voted for Joe Biden because they liked his policies, maybe? If they voted for Donald Trump because they liked his policy, why didn't they vote for Joe Biden because they liked his policies? It's not that I don't understand, Little Lemming. It's that you just said stupid things, and then you think that they make them true. Where is your support for your argument? Show me the polling. You know, the number one thing Googled after Donald Trump won is, do countries really pay for terrorists? The majority, the people that voted for MAGA, the people that voted for Trump, did so because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. He won the stupid vote. And so using stupidity as a justification for more stupidity is just enhanced stupidity. Disenfranchised people don't vote. Oh, okay, yeah. Let me see. Okay. All right, my browser is running really slow right now, and I'd have to close my. Anyway, so we won't worry about that. Wayback Machine might show you the. Okay, let it go. 70 million ain't poop. It's like literally like a quarter of the adult population. I would never ever vote leftist. You know what? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Your opinion is not the only opinion in America. I would never vote Republican. That doesn't mean I'm the only person in America. With that kind of logic, I might as well say you voted for Trump because you have a gross surf history and he gives you the green light to have one of those. Yes or no? People not educated about politics either don't vote or vote based on feelings instead of knowledge. Does this chat work? Yes. Charlie, that's the most ignorant statement I've ever heard this week. So if somebody said they were going to solve every problem in your life and they could actually do it, but the leftists, hell no. All right, we're just going to ignore Charlie because he's just sitting there. He's one of these guys that comes on and just like says something stupid, gets the chat riled up, and then never defends anything, never says anything objective, never says anything true, just acts like his opinion is all that matters. It's such a MAGA thing to do. You don't know what you're talking about, Charlie. I do. When you actually learn something and get an education, you will be qualified to debate with me. Until then, I'm not reading your comments. Some ICE agent wasting people in another state makes your groceries cheaper. Get out of here. Biden didn't know what Biden knows. What a dumb comment. What an absolutely stupid comment. You must be a stupid person to say a comment like that. You don't know what a vagina is because you've never had an experience with one. I'm about to, anyway, my wife is trying to tell me that I'm being mean, and maybe I am, but you deserve it. I am so tired of the transphobic nonsense that comes out of MAGA's mouth. Like, oh, I don't care if people are getting killed. I don't care if hundreds of thousands of people died. I don't care if Donald Trump is starting wars. I don't care if millions of lives are being destroyed. At least MAGA, at least transgender people don't have rights anymore. What an awful person you are. I'm about to boot Charlie. He's just a chat derailer. Have you ever read Larry Summers' op-ed? And I don't care about Larry Summers or his op-ed. They're not getting weapons. It's an energy deal. Because quite frankly, the government in Saudi Arabia aren't not jobs, and the government in Iran aren't nut jobs. The governments in Iran are nut jobs. I beg to differ. Didn't the leader of Saudi Arabia saw up a journal into little pieces? Like, I'd say that's pretty nut job. I'm sorry, Harry, I have to disagree with you on there. He's a nut job. Saudi Arabia sponsors a lot of terrorism, and the leader of Saudi Arabia sawed up a journalist into little pieces. Just listen, universal health care is Medicare for all. That comes with a payment and copay. If it was explained, no one would want Medicaid. Alex, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you do not understand what Medicare for all is. I would like to point out that it isn't Saudi Arabia that funds proxies across the Middle East and has made it an express policy that I'm not saying that Iran is okay. I'm just saying that Saudi Arabia is not. Like, it's not like only one of the countries can be bad. I mean, Saudi Arabia financed 9/11. I'm pretty sure that was a terrorist attack. I do not support Donald Trump's war in Iran in any way, but Iran cannot be allowed to have any form. But and I agree they don't. They shouldn't. That's why Barack Obama negotiated a treaty with Iran to keep them from getting it. They were nowhere near getting it though. That's the issue. Iran wasn't going to get nuclear weapons. They should be allowed to refine uranium for like medical purposes or for energy purposes, just not for weapons purposes. And we should have a treaty where we can go in and inspect and make sure that they're not developing nuclear weapons. I'm not so much saying that Saudi Arabia shouldn't get the deal that they're getting. I'm saying Iran should be able to get the deal that Iran is getting, or that Saudi Arabia is getting. I think that people that countries should be able to enrich uranium for non-lethal purposes. But they couldn't. They couldn't. I mean, like literally, they couldn't. There was all kinds of, there was stipulations involved that involved inspections. They were going to downgrade the uranium they had to where it would be not realistic. And the whole thing about how they were just like a couple of weeks away was BS. It would have required running their uranium, or like all their enrichment facilities, all of them at the same time at max speed for like 2 weeks, which is impossible. I mean, things would break down. Like just the laws of physics and friction would prevent that from happening. And even if they were able to make the uranium, enrich the uranium, they still didn't have a delivery device. Iran was nowhere near that. I think we need to have an agreement with them. I think the agreement with Obama wasn't perfect, but it was a really, really good start, and it's a lot better than where we're at now. I wish we could do something in Iran that would allow for a change in regime more than reinforcing a worse regime. They have hobbies, but it involves illegal activities, and it's usually with underage. Harry, don't undo that. Oh, you guys are talking about a comment or something. Well, if people are that stupid to fall for him, then you maggots will never be forgiven. The defense bill that passed the House only has provisions to deeply integrate defense technology, intelligence systems, and weapons co-production overall. 1.5 trillion defense budget. But God forbid a poor black kid gets a free bottle of Pepsi. Saudi Arabia is not a good country, but I would much rather support Saudi Arabia. I'm just saying it doesn't need to be a choice. And Saudi Arabia has its own terrorist activities. And so if we're going to just say that that Iran can't get any nuclear facilities at all, even for non-weapon purposes, why not the country that was behind the single biggest terrorist attack in the history of the world? Bill provision for Israel defense integration with the U.S. is Section 219 of the legislation. But Saudi Arabia did fund Al Qaeda and the 9/11 attack. So, I mean, you would say they didn't, but they did. They did. They did saw up a journalist into little tiny pieces. Like Saudi Arabia does have connection to terrorist groups. Well, if it wasn't the Saudi government, it was still adjacent, and the guy, the prince, whatever his name is still sawing up journalists into little tiny pieces. So I'm just saying, Saudi Arabia is not as pure as the driven snow, and they might not be as bad as Iran, but they're still very, very bad. The Saudi government did not directly fund anything, but bin Laden hurted the royal family as much as the United States. Yeah, Osama hated the Saudis and their government. He wouldn't have done anything with them. Saudi Arabia was, I mean, talking about the country, not the leadership, but the country, like people in Saudi Arabia funded 9/11 much more than Iraq or Iran or Afghanistan or any of the countries we went to war with over it. Iran has never actually carried out an attack on our soil. All of their terrorism, when it is terrorism, I'm not trying to undermine it, but all of their terrorism is localized in their own region to get the United States out of their region. They're just trying to get the U.S. out of their yard. Saudi Arabia was the fundraising location, and 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi citizens. Yes, but the Saudi state had nothing to do with it. That's my point. But they still, there's, you know, they didn't do anything to stop it. Who says it's never been determined? It does, though. Saudi Arabia. Anyway, we definitely know they sawed the journalist up into little tiny pieces, right? The government did. The leader of the government sawed a journalist up into little tiny pieces. It does, though. Saudi Arabia and Iran are two big powers in the Middle East, and we need to have one of them as a friend. I would much rather be Saudi Arabia than Iran. And I don't think Iran has any intentions of becoming our friend or working. Well, this current regime, right? But why don't we actually try and advocate for a regime change? Or in Saudi Arabia. The difference between Saudi Arabia and Iran right now, to me, the big difference is Saudi Arabia has business dealings with Donald Trump. Yeah, Jamal Khashoggi. That's the, like, that to me right there. We can quibble over which one is the biggest terrorist group. But Jamal Khashoggi probably has a strong opinion on that matter that he cannot express because he's too busy, like, being dead. And Saudi Arabia has its own history of terrorism. That's all I'm saying. And, you know, it's like evil versus evil. And the main difference between the two is one has business relationships with Donald Trump. Right. And that's all I'm saying. Saudi Arabia is terrible. And so, but if our logic is they're not doing nuclear weapons, even though they're terrible people, we will allow them enriched uranium for humanitarian purposes. Why can't we apply that same logic to Iran? If we have it accompanied with inspection programs that ensure that they're not doing, and we limit how much they can enrich. Like we had with the JCOA. You want to, you know, we could have maybe tweaked the treaty or something. Anyway, Donald Trump likes to rip up right now, Iran, that whole thing is such a mess. It's such a mess. There's no way we're coming out ahead on this thing. But they both carry out terrorist attacks. Or they both are, you know, kill innocent people, right? Like they might differ in scale, but that doesn't mean that, you know, if it's either if they anyway, you do realize that it's semantic, right? Like if you're sitting there talking about, well, you know, this guy only killed 5 people and this guy killed 50 people, so we better have an alliance with the guy that killed 5 people because he's less evil than the guy that killed 50 people. Like Saudi Arabia, the government is evil. They sawed up Jamal Khashoggi, and that's not like the only evil thing they've done. It's not like that just happened. They sawed him up because he was writing a story about all the other evil stuff they've done. So anyway, so no Saudi Arabia. Anyway, whew. I actually got caught up on the comments again, and we are almost we're 2.5 hours into this, and it's 5:12. So all right, no, not anything to do with you, Harry. I'm just going to read this comment and then we'll end. Saudi Arabia intervention in Yemen and its military operations compared to Iran funding terrorist proxies across the Middle East are not the same thing in my sense of the imagination. No, they're not the same thing. But one is just less evil than the other. It's still evil. So anyway, that's going to be a wrap for today. And I'll see you tomorrow. It's good talking to you, Harry. I'm glad that I'm glad we don't have to agree with everything on every single thing. I don't want to become a bubble. So I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from, and that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Unless you're watching Donald, in which case I hope you have a terrible evening. All right, talk to you later.